You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Thank God you all do not hear any of the conversations that happen before the show starts. We would be canceled. I'm one of your hosts here, Brandon Davidson, live on this Tuesday night and every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. on all the social media networks, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian. And that beautiful smile. It's just beautiful. Beautiful man. We got some breaking news. No, it's not that the Oscar viewership is up.
Yeah.
That did happen.
Yeah.
And everybody just seems to be raving about it. But we got more breaking news. We got another beer to try. Well, you all do.
Oh, there it is.
You had to wait for the sound to come back. He always does.
I had to wait for the sound. I said, "There's no sound." It doesn't really work. It doesn't really work though now because now it's a little bit delayed.
Is it? Well, maybe did you actually hit it again?
No, it already played. I'm just saying that in response to what I was. There it is. Like came 30 seconds after you said we have another beer. So.
Yep. What is this one? You got it up there.
It's good, is what it is.
I told you.
Well,
I told you. It still has the strong IPA. Like you get the fruit in the front end.
See, on the back end, I'm getting cough syrup.
I don't know about that.
He's not liking it.
I don't like it.
What? Well, hold it up there, Sean. Voodoo Ranger, and it is a.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's just that bitter IPA
Fruit
aftertaste.
The bitter and the fruit together is giving me like a
cough syrup vibe.
Kind of. It's not a bad thing, but it's it's
Do you think it'll be something that it'll?
It's kind of like a
it'll wear on you after a while.
Mucinex,
put
like
it
the blue cough syrup. You know,
put it in a glass and let it aerate.
The NyQuil.
I don't know.
Taking some NyQuil. Z-Quil.
It ain't bad though. 9.5%. Holy crap!
Yeah, y'all are gonna be.
It's a strong beer.
You're gonna be a little.
Well,
tipsy.
the other one was 9.1. The depth perception that I bought, the Terrapin. It was
the Terrapin was good. Now he bought these for Oscar night.
I did.
The Juicy Haze isn't quite that hot though.
No.
Juicy Haze like 6.5 or 7
I thought
or
it was
something.
still 7 something. Yeah. I think the 85 was up there a little bit, wasn't it?
I can't remember. All I know is I feel good after I've drank one.
Yep.
Especially on this show, and I'm trying to host, and man, my words start slowing.
All right, Dan.
Do feel good.
What's our breaking news, Keith? You found the article.
I mean, sometimes you
Fantastic.
find things and you think, "Oh wow!" Me and Sean found it at the same time. To be fair,
I think so. I was inside pooping, and I found it, and Keith found it while he was outside.
Yeah, I was sharing it with you while he was reading it inside.
I was just enjoying my cigar, and y'all were like, "Oh crap, this is going down."
There was breaking news. Yeah, Sean walked in while I was reading it to Brandon, and he was like, "I just read that." Special prosecutor in Alec Baldwin Rust case to step down. Which, to be fair, name's Andrea Reeb. She's the special prosecutor in the shooting of the Rust case for Helena Hutchins. So I like her statement. So part of the reason that she stepped, or the whole of the reason that she's stepping down, Baldwin's lawyer argued Reeb could not simultaneously serve as the special prosecutor and as a member of the New Mexico House of Representatives because she is a state
conflict of
representative.
interest.
It does make sense, and obviously in a case like Baldwin where he's so obviously guilty, you got to think of anything you can to keep him out of trouble. So her statement was, let's see, my priority in this case and in every case I've prosecuted in my 25-year career has been justice for the victim. However, it has become clear that the best way I can ensure justice is served in this case is to step down so that the prosecution can focus on the evidence and the facts, which clearly show a complete disregard for basic safety protocols led to the death of Helena Hutchins. I will not allow questions about my serving as a legislator and prosecutor to cloud the real issue at hand, which I think is admirable. She's basically saying, they're going to make it an issue if I stay on, which is, honestly, it is a reasonable conflict of interest. So she knows, she's saying, look,
Well, and with the latest,
the case get...
I guess you could call it a defensive win. The latest news where they basically called out the prosecution and they said, hey, you got to remove this. You can't retroactively apply a law that was instituted after this incident. And I think that was already a knock against the prosecution. You can tell they were going hard, which rightfully so. They're just trying to pull out all the stops they can.
I think...
I think also with the judgment on that, as well as them ridiculing her for being very young and not knowing what she's doing, she's kind of like, okay, fine, I'll give this up to somebody who's more seasoned. We've got more than enough ample evidence to I think that's part forward. Of it is obviously the defense here is trying to, they're going to do anything they can, and also at the same time it's like, okay, look, here they are charging for something that wasn't a law, and now she has this conflict of interest. They're going to try to do things like this and bring them to the public eye because the more and more they can try to make it look like the prosecution's incompetent, the more they can say, well, see, he shouldn't be charged the way he's being charged. Yeah. So I think it is responsible and smart on her end to be like, look, we're going to get everything out of the way. If I step down, they can't use that against us, and we can move forward with facts, not just this whatever the defense is. Well, we can just take we can take the emphasis and the the lens off of me and put it on actually doing.
They're trying
justice.
to draw attention away from what Baldwin did and put it on the prosecution.
Exactly, as they have been for the last year. That this has been going on, which is insane.
He didn't do it. He doesn't know how the gun went off.
Yeah.
His finger wasn't even on the trigger.
I want to point out that this was a Fox News article, so none of this is true.
That's true. Fake news.
It's all fake.
But we do have a great show. Obviously, the Oscars were Sunday.
We're
pretty much going to give our entire opinion, and we got the results of who won the competition.
You know what else we have?
A review.
We do. We have a movie review.
That's right. The big one on the block.
Yeah.
Scream 6.
I was thinking
big one on the block.
He's trying to figure out which one he's going to hit.
I was just like, Scream. I don't know.
Is there a quotable line from that movie?
From Scream?
Yeah, like the original. Like, what's your favorite scary movie?
Yeah, I mean, that obviously.
Yeah. That's not worthy of being on the soundboard.
I feel like if there's any, they would have come from Stu, who was a fan favorite. Or Dewey. I know they but wait, there's more that was parodied.
Parodied?
I can't talk.
Parodied.
In Scary Movie. I forget which Wayne's brother delivers the line, but he parodies. Obviously, Stu's character and does. But wait, there's more. He gives it like a list.
Doofy from Scary Movie is what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Grab
my strong arm.
No, that's number 2. That's not Doofy, but
still good.
But. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we're in the 6th in the series.
Yeah.
I wonder how it fares compared to the one we reviewed last year, which was Scream 5 or Scream.
I think we have some similar thoughts. I don't know how far I landed from you because I know.
I wasn't too fond.
To it. Yeah,
I wasn't too fond. But
I have zero thoughts because I did not see it.
Well, who knows? Maybe we'll be able to settle for you whether or not it's worth checking out.
We will,
and our other viewers.
Yeah, we'll get to the review.
Here's our review of Scream 6.
Without fail, all franchises must be milked dry and beaten long past their deaths. Some franchises take their time to get things right, and others provide exceptionally witty self-awareness surrounding their longevity. Horror franchises have long been the source of endless sequels even before blockbusters like Marvel, Star Wars, and The Fast and the Furious turned into massive sprawling franchises. But one such horror franchise had, until recently, remained relatively small. Scream, one of the rare horror series to originally had been helmed entirely by its creator, Wes Craven, offered a solid if not flawed trilogy, all directed by Craven, returning several years later with the 4th entry that provided a smart epilogue even if the film wasn't warmly received by mass audiences. It would have been safe and smart to have left it at the trilogy, let alone a 4th movie. But upon Craven's passing, studio execs did what all studio execs do. Turned towards milking dry the brands most known and loved. Last year saw the release of the 5th film in the franchise and the first to be made without Wes Craven, Scream. And despite it not being well liked by the majority of us here at Red Moon, it was a relative success. Critics and audiences loved it and the film turned a profit. All that is required to greenlight more. Though this time around not only would Craven be out, but now the franchise's lead, Neve Campbell, would not be returning. The film instead focuses on the new cast of characters introduced and set up in Scream 5, which admittedly always seemed the intention of the franchise's new lead creatives and co-directors Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette. And while Scream 6 will most likely satisfy general audiences and longtime casual fans, it continues to make the same mistakes most long-running rebooted franchises are making. Focusing now on Samantha Carpenter, played by Melissa Barrera, the daughter of original Scream killer Billy Loomis, and her sister Tara, played by Jenna Ortega, alongside returning cast Mindy and Chad, portrayed by Jasmine Savoy Brown and Mason Gooding, respectively, the niece and nephew of original horror aficionado Randy Meeks, Hayden Panettiere as Kirby, and Courtney Cox as Gail Weathers, the only original cast member left. Scream 6 does have a decent story idea that helps to connect all previous films and characters into a single cohesive franchise, while honoring the past in a way I felt Scream 5 did not. Likewise, I felt the new cast meant to carry the franchise forward does actually get some room to grow and become halfway legitimate characters this time around, more than just the tropes and stereotypes they are supposed to represent. Now for the bad. A clever plot idea and slightly more depth on already established characters isn't enough for me to feel a sixth entry in an already played out franchise is warranted. While the plot idea was clever, its execution is poor and predictable. And likewise, despite our cast feeling like slightly more than kill counts, they revert back into their stereotypes too much, and new characters introduced are given no depth or characterization at all. Meaning there's never any tension when the kills come, as I have no emotional connection to the newbies being slaughtered. This could have been counterbalanced by placing many of the established cast in danger, and with this film's theme tackling, funnily enough, franchises, we are made well aware that established and legacy characters are no longer safe. Except we've seen rules declaring main characters unsafe before, and they still lived. And just like so many times before, Scream 6 overuses the fake out, making you believe a big character has bitten it, only to be revealed to have lived later. This worked for the original trilogy when they turned this into a running gag around Dewey's character. It offered smart commentary on the trope while reserving the cliche only for a fan favorite. Both Scream 5 and 6 employ multiple fake-outs, with Scream 6 being the worst offender, as no less than 4 characters are quote-unquote killed, only to be revealed as surviving later. Finally, the franchise theme itself, while utilized to poke fun of and satirize the Scream franchise as a whole, is poorly used. The Scream series have always been made as social commentary on the present state of film broadly and the horror genre more specifically. Since last year's Scream, both it and Scream 6 seem to have become micro-focused on the Scream series itself, poking fun of itself more than the film tropes on a broader scale. This would be fine, but it makes the series feel cheaper and less culturally relevant than the originals. There's also only so far you can go with lambasting yourself before the joke gets old. Now, with going all out on franchises as a theme, it's hard to imagine where the series goes next with satire. Once you've made fun of yourself for being a cash grab, how do you continue on being a cash grab? And outside of making fun of itself as a franchise and establishing franchise rules, the film has little clever to say about film franchises in general. Ultimately, it's not that I think Scream films have nowhere left to go, it's that I no longer trust Hollywood to be creative enough to make a compelling horror that is also an analysis of film culture. As a stereotypical slasher, Scream 6 is alright, and will keep those who just came for the kills happy. I personally, however, miss when the Scream franchise was actually clever. I give Scream 6 2.5 out of 4 stars.
I couldn't agree more, but...
Really? Because...
I'm giving it 2.
Okay, I was about to say.
I agree with what you said at the end with wishing it would be a little bit more clever and witty, and I couldn't agree more with that. Mm-hmm. I ended up dropping it down to 2 simply because it was too much like last year's Scream that we got.
I actually liked it better.
And I think a lot of people do.
Which I'll explain later, but I was going
to say, I think a lot of people are in that boat as far as, audience. I mean, audiences truthfully have liked the whole franchise.
They have. I mean, there's not really
it's
been
not
one
been divided. But I still... my problem, especially starting with the fourth one where they were... I mean, the fourth one wasn't terrible. I know a lot of people rate that one of the lowest. It wasn't bad in the sense of it coming back and then reintroducing this idea of social media and kind of taking it away from... I think it works
as an epilogue to the original 3. It's not needed, but I didn't think it was terrible.
And it was intentional about why they did it that way to bring Scream back into the forefront. But I also think that the way they've done so far this trilogy, or as they're now saying it's a franchise, but with 4, 5, and 6,
well, they don't
they
include
very
4
much
as part of this though, because that was still Wes Craven. Like this new
it's
starts
just
from
Scream, and
that's why
okay.
I was called
But
I
even
didn't know
then,
Scream 4 was Wes Craven.
yeah, it was the last one,
Yeah.
and then they kind of did the last one supposedly in honor of Wes Craven. But to me, even when you look at the plot points of 4, 5, and 6, whether 4 is included, since it's not included, even then, they've kind of taken this zoomed out view and perspective of horror films as a whole and added in a dose of like social cultural commentary. And that's not necessarily bad. It's just once you make it obvious, like I thought it was clever in the 5th one when they introduced the requel. And then in this, they're very blatantly like, no, now we're a franchise. But other than the one scene where that's coming up and they introduce the plot threads.
Stereotypical of Scream.
Right. And that's fine. That is the MO of the franchise.
But you have to be smart about it.
But then they do nothing else with it. And even the one clever trick that I could think, I don't want to spoil it, you already hinted at it in the review, and that's fine. We didn't say who. But there's a lot of deaths that happen that aren't deaths.
Fake outs, yeah.
And the fake outs to me were a little bit way too unbelievable for them to have survived. And even... They even bill it as like, oh yeah, he's barely hanging on. But even then, I'm just like, no, there's no way anybody would survive that.
I did mention that in the review that they do it.
Well, and it's kind of disappointing.
They do it at least 4 times. I know off my head, but I think it actually maybe even a little bit more than that. And I'm like, how do you fake kill 4 different characters?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was the thing. By the time the 4th one
that's
shows
bad.
up,
Yeah, that's not good.
Are these the Scream killers that are being killed and then they come back, or it's
I don't want to say.
Yeah,
they do something different with the Scream killers as well.
Yeah.
And even that, which supposedly, and again, I don't want to give it away too much if you want to see it. I didn't think the twist there was well done. It was fine. It just wasn't anything clever.
No.
But
outside of it being sort of outside of the norm, but that's not strong enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And ultimately, I just fell down on once the movie ended, I fell down on the side of, okay, there's not enough here, not enough meat on the bone for me to be at. I felt like it was appetizing and I wanted more, or I'm ready to see this continue. I felt like they kind of played up the tropes of what it's become a little bit too on the nose, to the point of most people are like, oh, well, that's kind of the point, and that's why it's clever. And it was just, I've seen a lot of people praising it for just simply being fun.
Yeah.
I got to be honest, for the 2-hour runtime, it was like an hour and 55 minutes, or I was not pleased. I was kind of bored through some of it.
I won't say I was ever bored. I was entertained for the most part. I liked the way I liked all the ideas it had, but again, it was one of those where you have actually some clever ideas that would have made an interesting movie, but you again don't do anything with them. You're not clever enough to actually make those ideas something that was witty. Instead, they just kind of said their ideas on film, like, oh, we're a franchise, but we're not actually going to lambast any franchises or how franchise films are made. We're just going to make fun of ourselves as a franchise. And I'm like, okay, but that's not what Scream did. That's like their focus now is to make fun of the Scream franchise in and of itself. And it's like, but they always were a commentary on filmmaking in a broader scale. And it's like, if you're not going to actually comment on like how franchises now are and how like they make some examples of how overly ridiculous it is about like, oh, you introduce these new characters, but then legacy characters can die and this and that. And I'm like, okay, but then in Scream 3, when they said, oh, it's a trilogy and even main characters can die, it's no different. It's like you're introducing rules that aren't different from other rules.
And then I'll be honest with you, the main thing that pissed me off there was the bait and switch. They say it and then they intentionally don't do it.
Yeah.
And they don't do it because it's kind of like the whole, we've joked on M. Night and in each of his films where it's like, the twist is there's no twist.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was kind of what was being pulled here.
Yeah.
And so ultimately just the build up to also some of the tense scenes, and there were certain ones that were okay. I felt like the climbing out the window across a ladder into another apartment, you see it in the trailer.
Yeah.
Drew out way too long. It was to the point where I'm like, this dude would have given up chasing after them, to the point of just being like, he would have found another way around.
Yeah.
Or he could have done something else.
Or again, it's funny because in the last movie, we all made fun of how ridiculous it was that this tiny little girl could do what she did to Dewey. But in this one, you have a character who is more than capable of being physical, yet he couldn't buck this tiny little girl off a ladder when he was shaking her. So I'm like, I'm like, you went the opposite way this time.
Maybe that was intentional. Who knows?
Maybe. Well, And that's another thing because
I think it was very on the nose too what they did with the certain characters in terms of. I don't want to say anything, but it wasn't woke. But I don't think it's any secret as to why the killer/killers, I'll put it that way, are the people. They tie it into the plot and they have a reason for being.
Yeah, no, I didn't mind, again, that story idea because it flows well with this kind of being this commentary on the Scream franchise. How the killers in Scream 2 are related to Scream 1. I felt like this kind of fit in this commentary of the Scream franchise. So I was like, okay, I like what you did with the killers in that regard, but you didn't do anything else interesting with that outside of
the connection.
That connection. And that's what I kept coming back to, is everything in this movie that was they would have stuff connected to the first movie, then the second, then the third, then the fourth. And I liked how they were trying to do that as a commentary on a franchise, even though it was only focused on itself. But I just felt like it wasn't clever enough. It's like it's easy to just be like to just point blankly say, "Oh, this is happening," and that's like that one. And I'm like, "Yeah, it's obvious."
Exactly.
Are you going to do anything more clever than just state the obvious?
Right.
So what do you think? Are there any plays left for another Scream movie to be clever? I mean, you have
set it up in a way that I expect there to be another one, but I'm just like I said in my review, like once you've hit the whole franchise joke and you're making fun of
what's
yourself,
next?
like once you've made yourself a joke, then where do you go next?
Yeah, because the first one was the joke was the rules of horror and slasher films, and then you go into sequels and then prequels and then or whatever, and now franchise. Like what else? What's left?
Yeah.
Well, that's
cinematic
kind of
universe,
multiverse.
They're gonna have
dude.
If they do a Scream multiverse, I'm all in.
I may be on board with that one. Now, it's like I thought. Well,
Actually,
and honestly,
that is
the best kind of. That's the best kind of play they have right now.
If they were
to
clever
go
about
so
it, though.
completely over the top. I mean, let's face it. They're on the 6th movie.
Yeah.
It's no doubt that they could literally go into the trail of slasher. I mean, they are a slasher flick. That's what a lot of this is.
They could go over the top.
They could easily go into the foray of the weird, demented. I mean, when you take Halloween and you take the weird path, the cult that created Michael Myers, and like they went down
Jason
this weird
X
side
when he's in
going
space.
in space.
Yeah.
They went took
Scream
all these
doesn't
weird
have to
twists and
actually
turns.
literally be that bizarre, but if they were really clever and they had a good writer and director, you actually could make I think a clever Scream movie commentating on the sequels that went out there. It's like, why not? Why not have we have all these killers who are imitating killers in movies. Why not have one be like, you know what? I'm gonna go batshit crazy and I'm gonna imitate the cult Jason or cult Michael Myers and space Jasons and whatever else.
Right.
I think I'm just saying.
Like Jason X.
If you were clever about it, I think you could actually do it and make it a serious movie, but I don't think they have anyone clever enough to do that.
Or, I mean, even then, another thing that I thought was exhausting with this was the continual tie back to the connection to how they tie what they're doing as the killers in this and how they're connecting it to the other murderers and the previous ones was fine. But to me, I'm also like, not okay. If you wanted to technically break off and say Wes Craven has his 4,
and
these are new, then I'm like, okay, we don't need continual tiebacks to have relations, or, actual tied relationships to the old characters. Now, of course, the one that's introduced, the new set of characters introduced in Scream, did already have that, so I'll give them that. But it's like we don't need every single installment from this point on to have a connection back to the original.
Yeah. Was really not a reason to bring back Kirby, Hannah
No. You can't, man.
I
can't say her name.
I can't talk anything today.
Say her name.
Her character from the 4th one died, at least presumably, and then here she is in this one, like, oh, I lived. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I know. Well, and honestly, that's exactly how you feel at the end of the movie when all the others live. It's like, then, okay.
Yeah, they did her fake out off screen from
spoiler.
between movies.
I don't care.
But no, it's just one of those things where she shows up at the beginning of this, and the only reason she's there is just so they can say, well, see, they are all connected. They're all part of a franchise. It's like, yeah, we get it. We know.
Right. And I don't know. I just overall, I felt like it's tired.
I also think it was a mistake to bring Courtney Cox back when you don't have the others, like, because she served no purpose in this movie.
They made one reference to Neve Campbell.
Well,
and they're like,
she deserves
her piece,
yeah,
and I was like, okay, you made the. It was honestly the same argument you could theoretically have for the previous movie we just reviewed. Oh gosh, it's slipping my mind. And they brought back, or they intentionally omitted the character because they weren't part of it. Crap! It was just recent.
Oh, Creed 3.
Creed 3 with not having Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
And it's like so many people, but it's funny because I'm like, but Creed 3 is done well enough that it's not only stands on its own. They intentionally, it's like you can watch Creed 2 and see that Rocky's story's wrapped up.
Yeah.
You don't need
Well, another example is with Creed 3, they harken back to the previous films.
Yes.
They harken back to the Rocky films
Well, they
with
do
the
that with
montages
this
and all that
too,
kind of stuff, but they did it much more creatively, I guess.
I think my problem with...
And those are supposed to, too.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think I really don't, like, after seeing this, I don't think you do need Neve Campbell anymore, but you do need to give a satisfying reason for why she's no longer there. And my problem with this was, it's like, yeah, I can get behind the whole, well, we don't need to involve her in this. She's done enough. And, like, this doesn't really concern her, except for the fact that the way they connect the killers with all the previous killers, it's like, well... what they're out for eventually.
She's the main character in the first 3 films.
Who started? She kind of like everything kind of started surrounding her. So if they're out for like this kind of revenge based on this certain scenario, it's like at some point they're going to go after her. So you can't act like it's like, well, she deserves not to be bothered. It's like, except that if they get done killing all of you all, they're just going to go after her anyway.
Sydney's never safe.
Exactly.
She's always a target.
And honestly, we saw it done. One of the things that they actually did well, but it was still. It wasn't carried out well throughout the rest of the trilogy. But in Halloween Kills, when they directly bring up the fact that Jamie Lee Curtis is not Michael Myers' sister, she's just some random woman. She's just a random woman that he's literally obsessed with just killing because he's just on his radar. Yeah. And it was like, okay, that was a neat idea to make it seem like, oh, she isn't anything special. Again, they didn't carry that to full fruition. And I would say and argue the same thing with the Scream franchise up to this point. It's like, unless they're going to go really crazy and down the rabbit hole of doing some weird stuff with, mimicking other horror franchises at this point.
Well, at this point,
I'm
they
just
need
like,
to
they
do
don't
the
need
versus
it.
films.
Yeah.
You need to have Scream versus Freddy Krueger.
That could be fun.
Because that's 2 Wes Craven properties.
Man, they could do Ghostface. Yeah, faces. Oh, that would be good.
Who owns Scream? I know Dimension Films used to.
They don't own them anymore.
Yeah, New Line Cinema owns Freddy Krueger, doesn't it?
Yeah. New Line owns.
They might own this one because
Scream. I think
Scream and Scream
Paramount
6
now.
were 2 different ones.
I think they're owned by Paramount now, so I don't know. I don't know if Paramount owns any other like iconic.
Yeah.
Well, even if they could do like a versus something.
Yeah. Scream's now Paramount Pictures, so.
Well,
Interesting.
Do they have Hellraiser?
No.
What else does Paramount have?
I don't know that they.
I don't think they do. I think Scream is it.
Yeah.
It's like
Scream versus Top Gun. Scream versus Maverick.
He's in my cockpit.
Hold on.
You see Tom Cruise going, and then from behind him, you see the knife stabbing him in the back.
They have a Quiet Place. You can have Scream.
Oh, there
versus,
we go.
You just see them aliens.
One of those.
It's like, don't scream.
It's like,
or they'll hear you.
It's like, what's your favorite scary? And then they just charge you.
That'd be good.
Alrighty, guys. Well, that's our review of Scream 6. It's
they own
obviously
Candyman. You want to see Candyman fight Ghostface?
I would have if the previous movie that just came out,
decent,
The knife versus the hook.
See, that would have been.
That could have been interesting.
Yeah,
God.
they ruined that movie. A bunch of woke garbage. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for Scream 6 review. Go check it out in theaters if you want, because another big one's coming up this weekend, which is Shazam, isn't it?
Shazam!
Fury of the Gods!
They also did the Ring franchise, so you just show the Ghostface killer the VHS tape, and in 10 days he'll die.
Yeah.
See, and honestly, now I'm picturing the
7 days. That's
Yeah.
I think it's
7
7.
days. But now I'm
week.
picturing Ghostface from Scary Movie where he smokes the bong and he's got the happy.
I'm gonna go home and watch Scary Movie now.
Much better.
That's
movie.
my thing. Is like you already have
Damon
Scary.
Wayans.
It's like Scary Movie already made fun of the Scream franchise. How is Scream now going to make fun of themselves?
Put on my football.
Put my shoulder pads on.
Put my shoulder pads.
Yeah, now the helmet.
Put the helmet on. I love that.
Coach, was it Coach Man?
Oh yes. You couldn't do that today.
No, you could not do that today.
No.
That's so sad, man. All right, let's turn on to our other big topic of the week. Let's get into headlines with our Oscar review. That's how I felt about the Oscars.
You want some beer?
Actually, this year,
I should give my dog some beer.
yeah, the doggies like beer.
And give her some sip.
Listen, you give your dog a bear, and it's just gonna be your best old friend companion for the rest of your life.
Lap it up.
Uncle Buck does.
Yeah.
He pours it in his bowl.
Yeah, he did.
It's great.
I didn't hate the Oscars this year.
I didn't.
I mean, I don't.
I
They
give
still
them
have a
2.5
long way
out
to
of
go.
4.
Yeah, they have a long way to go still before they've re-earned my full trust.
Should we go through the winners list and what we came out, if whether do the tally,
We can real
or
quick.
should we do a review of the show?
Well, I kind of feel like since you pointed out we
I think we should.
tied.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like us adding them all up or whatever, but I mean, I don't mind going through the winners.
We just
Winners.
read off the winners.
Yeah,
and
then we'll get into the show. Yeah.
All right.
We'll start from the bottom up.
Yeah, you got it pulled up.
Yeah, I have my list pulled up.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So starting with visual effects was Avatar.
Deserved. Well
It
deserved.
won. Makeup and hairstyling was The Whale, which was also phenomenal. Original song. It did it.
Thank
Natsu
goodness.
Natsu from RRR. Loved it.
It was great.
So
Glad
happy
to see them win. Yep.
Original score was All Quiet.
Honestly, it sounds like the horn from War of the Worlds. That's what it sounds
I like the Horn
yeah.
of War of the Worlds
Yeah.
better, though.
I do.
Yeah.
I agree.
Production design, also All Quiet on the Western Front. Sound was Top Gun. Film editing was Everything Everywhere. Cinematography was All Quiet. Original screenplay was Everything Everywhere. Adapted screenplay was Woman Yakking. Women Talking.
Did you all get that one right?
Uh-huh.
Both
Yeah.
of you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess
got
that one
right.
Yeah. Animated feature was Pinocchio, supporting which
Del Toro's
gosh,
Pinocchio.
Del Toro's
Yep.
Pinocchio.
Not the Disney live
No,
action.
that one actually won a Razzie. So both
Yep.
won awards this year.
Yep.
Well deserved.
Yeah.
Supporting actress Jamie Lee Curtis. Supporting actor Ki Hui Kwan. Lead actress Michelle Yeoh. Lead actor Brendan Fraser. Director was the Daniels and
For Everything Everywhere.
Yeah. And then Best Picture, of course, Everything Everywhere, all at once.
7 Academy Awards it took home.
Yep.
Now the big question is, and I know some people out there who
There's people that
follow movies and are probably way bigger movie buffs than me, will contend that no, it is absolutely one of the better Best Pictures of the last few years.
It does have its
It has its
fans,
following, and a lot of people had its favorite to pick. We picked it, but I will say that this is a movie that in at least 2 years' time nobody will remember.
You guys
I
both
don't
picked
think-
that to win?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I had Triangle of Sadness, remember?
Yeah, I know you
That was
went-
one of the
yeah.
ones I got wrong.
I had Everything Everywhere as I wanted, or who I thought would win, and I had Banshees as who I wanted. But
And I had Top Gun as who I wanted.
Yeah,
I
me
really was
too.
hoping, but it's funny.
I just
no
knew.
way.
Well, I just knew no way.
No.
Yeah.
I actually thought Top Gun, because it was nominated for sound, Best Picture, but wasn't it nominated for something else
Film
too?
editing.
Yeah, see, I
Visual
thought,
effects.
I
Visual
thought it
effects.
would have won more of the technical categories that it was in.
I kind
but
of
it
knew
didn't.
that All Quiet was going to get. I think a lot,
lot
of the
of those.
technicals.
I know it's funny,
technicals.
back in the 80s when Top Gun, it was nominated for Best Sound the year that it came out, and it didn't win.
Really?
So they're saying this year it
It
won
won,
Best
yeah,
Sound,
yeah.
which
Yeah.
makes up
Well,
for it.
funny
missing
enough,
Vindicated.
Yeah.
Top Gun and Avatar, the two highest-grossing movies of last year, the
Yeah.
movies that everybody say saved the theater.
And I thought that was funny
Yeah,
because James Cameron and Tom
that's
Cruise
where I
were
was
not
going,
there.
yeah.
They
Tom-
weren't there.
They didn't go. They didn't attend because they knew Tom Cruise, James Cameron. They both knew it's like we're not going to win anything.
Nope.
It's like this is just fan service basically. Even though I would
Well,
argue
they
both of those
did
movies.
win. They won
They
where it
won.
really matters, which is profits.
Yeah.
Okay. They won
They
in the
did.
profit
Yep.
They
category.
won the profits.
But no,
Um,
I will say, for the most part, definitely in terms of the last decade, no doubt.
The show itself, yeah.
The show itself was one of the better
I agree.
shows.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know anybody who doesn't follow the movie industry could care less, and that's fine. We've gotten to that point. We're tired of it. Knowing that we're gonna watch it,
yeah.
and knowing what it could be based on the previous years that it has
Knowing
been.
how bad it has been, yeah. This year was
very tame.
yeah. Not even just tame. They actually they did actually focus on honoring the people they were supposed to be awarding. They didn't try to do a bunch of really stupid skits, because Jimmy Kimmel kind of started that trend anyways, and
Yeah.
Ellen DeGeneres did it.
Yeah.
So the fact that he didn't pull everybody into the theater to have all these celebrities,
Yeah.
like that dumb stuff. They performed all the original songs. They showed clips from all the Best Picture nominees. They had a few tributes like Warner Brothers 100 Years that I thought were
they had a good
really nicely done.
memoriam.
The memorial,
Yeah.
yeah. They left people off like they do every year, but
Yeah.
once
Well, Well, and
do this.
I did think that was the one weird thing about the in memoriam, where I was like, look, if
They
you're
had
going to
that QR
have
tag.
a QR code and a website at the end and say go here for the full length, I'm like, then why even include it?
Right.
Just put it up.
Well,
and say,
it's also, and I hate to say
think
this
it's just
because I don't
disrespectful.
want to make it sound like some people are more important than others, because based on an Oscar speech, we know that's not true. No one person is more important than another.
Yep,
But
and they're not more important
but
than
to me, Anne Hesh and Fred Ward
Yeah,
should have
yeah.
been on that list.
Agreed.
But there were
And-
ones last year I
yeah.
thought should have that weren't, and
Yeah.
that's what bugged me. And I looked it up because I was curious, and they said you do not have to be a member of the Academy to
Wow.
be in the memoriam. The only criteria is they base it on your contribution to the industry and film. And I'm like, okay, but then what does that mean? Because here you are showing some people who I would argue, like last year they left off Robert Downey Sr. He's a huge contributor to the industry.
Yeah.
I know like Bob Saget and Norm Macdonald, some people would be like, well, they didn't do a lot of film, but they were still in movies.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I'm just like, you're picking and choosing, and it's just kind of odd to me.
Yep.
Well, and that's why, I'm like, even at least what they could have done is, and they should do in years to come, do a cast of credits. Just do a list of people who have passed away, and then as the list is going up, you have some photos on the side that represent
Music.
certain ones,
Yeah.
and that's all you got to do. But then everybody's included. Not everybody has a photo, but at least you have some that are recognized based on however you want to decide that. But it's just it's kind of a weird spot every single year that they've now started to exclude certain people. It's just like, especially when we've had years where people have died literally a week before the show and they've been included.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of a slap on the face.
Now, and it is slap on the face.
Yay!
None of that. There's
Didn't
none of that
happen this year.
I will say we knew.
I think that's the reason there was a bump in the ratings.
We knew they
People wanted it.
We knew they would make jokes about it, but I thought the jokes they made and how well they were paced out. Like I thought they were good. I was like, okay, these are actually really nice. Most of the jokes were funny. Most of the speeches were actually like gracious and so like, even though I don't really think Jamie Lee Curtis deserved it for the role she had, her speech was graceful. Ki Huy Kwan was grateful. Michelle
Ki
Yeoh.
Huy Kwan was the best of the night.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
yes.
And for him
Him
to
and Brendan
absolutely.
Fraser were the two really emotional ones, and I think like Ki Huy Kwan was his, to me, was the most coherent speech. Like I felt him, man, when he was saying that.
It was
but
brilliant.
Brendan Fraser was just not. I really don't think he was expecting it, and I think it was one of those speeches where you just caught me off guard, and I don't know what to say, so I'm gonna pour my heart out.
Yeah.
And I think he said some things that were kind of like.
They were mocking him for throwing in the well.
Yes.
Yeah, he said the whale like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah,
Like,
talking
man,
about the depths of the ocean and the whale.
He was
and,
trying to tie it together.
And I get it.
It sounded like,
but
he makes
I
dad
think he
jokes though.
knew.
That's Brendan Fraser.
It is, but
Yeah.
I think there were times throughout the speech where he had something prepared. I think he knew he was going to win because he had won throughout the season, but I still think he was genuinely shocked that it was finally happening.
I think they all
everybody
prepared.
But Jamie Lee Curtis, I don't think she had any clue.
Her reaction
Was
when
awesome.
That was my favorite because they announce her name and
Angela
she's not.
Bassett.
Yes, she wasn't even paying attention. Like she's sitting there and like they announce her name and she like jerks forward and like oh they said my name because I think everybody was expecting Angela Bassett.
Yep. And
when
you could tell by her face.
Yes, when they show her face and she's not clapping, she's not smiling, she's just
like Wakanda forever.
and I'm like. There are Marvel movies I will praise and say they had good acting. I've never seen a single Marvel movie that I think had an Oscar-worthy performance. I'm not saying they had bad performances. The scene we talk about with Peter Parker and Robert Downey Jr. as he's fading away is an excellent scene.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not going to say that they deserve an Oscar.
Agreed.
And Angela Bassett is no better. Her performance in that movie could have been done by I think any actress. I felt that same way about Jamie Lee Curtis too. But she won it. So
and honestly, the only thing that was, if anything, predictable about as the night went on, and even with Everything Everywhere winning, is it did seem as if what we've come to expect from at least the last, I would say, 5 years and on with the Oscars, which is the Academy as a whole is starting to now award trends. And it's like, okay, Michelle Yeoh is the first Asian woman leading actress to win. Ki Huy Kwan, he's been in the film industry forever. Jamie Lee Curtis has been in the film industry, got her start as a scream queen.
That's a good point.
So it's like they're now starting to reward. I mean, look, I said the same thing back in the day when the old woman from Titanic was nominated back in '98, and yet she lost. And I'm like, she ain't gonna be in another movie.
Yeah.
Like, this is
Yeah.
it.
I think that's-
But at the same time, I was like, but if you truly go along meritocracy
Deserve it,
standards,
yeah.
you go with who really
deserve it.
truly
Yeah.
deserves
And
it.
I noticed that as well. Like, and I'm not saying that there's some conspiracy. These people only won because they knew that audiences at home would like these winners best. But to an extent, like, Miranda has no, like, she loves Jamie Lee Curtis. She has no clue about her role in this movie, and or whether she deserves it or not. She's just excited that an actress that she's loved for years now has an Oscar.
She's like, oh, I know that name.
Yes.
Right.
And I think
She was in True Lies.
And I think there's a lot of people that are fans of Jamie Lee Curtis. Brendan
Yeah.
Fraser, Ke Huy Quan from
well,
his days
those
at Short
two,
Round and
those
Goonies.
two had
yeah.
a comeback.
Yeah.
These are two
Well,
comeback
and,
stories.
and that's the other thing. Think about that. The comeback story with Brendan
Yeah.
Fraser. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not saying the guy didn't deserve it for a performance that he
Oh
put
yeah,
on.
I think he did,
but
but
at the same time, it's a little. It's like, okay, that was the theme of the night, and that was the
Yes.
theme even with Everything Everywhere, and which is why I said I think it's kind of ultimately forgettable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you may have enjoyed it when you watched it. It may have been the fan favorite from this year
Yeah.
that a lot of people latched onto, and it just gave them the feel good moment.
Yeah.
But even still, it's not something that I think is going to hold up well over time or be something that people are going to revisit.
And
And
I
think,
honestly think that's why Harrison Ford, part of the reason he's like, yes, he has Indy Jones coming out this year, and he's been in 1923.
They knew.
But I think they're like, Everything Everywhere is the one that's the front runner to win. We can have him announce it. That way, when everybody gets on stage, you can have that moment with him and Ke Huy Quan.
Yep.
Like
I think
don't
it'd be funny
that
if he
was
wouldn't even
unintentional.
if he didn't remember him. Like, it'd be hilarious if he's
who
so
are
old
you?
that he didn't remember that little
dementia setting
that
in,
little
man.
That he
Japanese
did-
kid.
I did think
or
this was
Taiwanese
cool.
or where's he from?
He's Chinese.
Is he Chinese?
No, he's
I
not.
thought he was
Vietnamese.
Chinese.
in the movie he's supposed to be from China.
Yeah, I think he's
but
from
he's not
Vietnamese.
Chinese.
Well, that's
Yeah.
brown face right there.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
I
he's
thought
Vietnamese.
they were
Face.
Taiwanese.
That's yellow face.
Michelle Yeoh is Chinese, but he
Is she?
is let's see.
Looking it up. Wikipedia.
Yep, here we go.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, South Vietnamese.
Vietnamese.
But his family is of Chinese descent. So,
Boom.
Okay.
so he's
Boom.
he's a mix. He's
Mic drop.
mixed of both.
Well, he's a mix.
yeah, mix of
not-
both.
All right,
not
so
purebred
he wasn't
Chinese.
He wasn't
Yeah.
yellow facing.
He wasn't.
He wasn't
Now,
yellow facing.
I did think it was cool. He did say that Corey Feldman called him and congratulated him that
Oh
night.
no! Not
yeah,
only that,
Brandon
he-
was saying all of them did.
all of them texted. He said
Yeah.
in his speech, he said
Well-
Goonies never say die, and he said he got a text. His agent is Chunk.
Yes,
So I
yes.
thought that
because
was
he
awesome.
retired. He didn't stay in the acting career for long. He went into law school and is a very famous lawyer. But Jeff Cohen is his agent.
I think that's
written
awesome.
he's written books on law and stuff, which I think is cool.
It's just cool. It was like, I think obviously his spoke the best of the night of blatantly coming out and saying this is the American dream.
Yeah.
I loved that because again, to hear someone of foreign descent say that, you truly do not have that in elitist Hollywood anymore.
No,
you don't.
You have people who were born here that just
Spit
dog
on
it.
the- yes, they spit on the country
Yes.
and all the opportunities that begin.
She's
that
Malaysian.
to me,
I just wanted to
Michelle Yeoh?
Yeah, I don't want to blame get their.
don't be racist.
Yes, she is Malaysian,
but honestly,
but
this,
she also has family from China. So.
But this is the issue that I have with people like when you take that scenario of Angela Bassett not winning and Jamie Lee Curtis. When you see the still frame, the reason why I'm appreciative of at least Jamie Lee Curtis is not only because of the time she's put in the industry,
Yeah.
but also because she was truly, genuinely surprised. And you see Angela Bassett, and you talk about privilege these days.
Yeah.
What greater privilege is there than I deserve this?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but that was all over her face in the way she reacted. There was no camaraderie. There was no I'm happy for you. It was just strictly disappointment. And I'm like, that is the greatest slap in the face to you, to the medium, to that industry, and the reason people turn their eyes away from currently what Hollywood's pumping out. It's just constantly the slap in the face you give to the little guy and the people who even turn up to see your movies to be entertained. And so I will say, like, that was the thing I enjoyed about some of these off-kilter people winning, is because you actually saw in their eyes
appreciated it.
they really appreciated it. I loved that the film, I think it was either animated short or animated feature, I can't remember, but the group that got up there with it was a short film. It was just short live action. They got up there with the Down syndrome kid, and I thought that it was an
Sang happy
amazing
birthday to
moment.
him
And he
and all
said,
that.
but an
Happy
even
birthday,
greater moment than this is it's this guy's birthday, and they said, so let's join in, and they started singing happy
Yes.
birthday. It was just
That
so
was awesome.
That
was
is
awesome.
the epitome of humanity right there.
Yeah.
That is what will get people to tune in and see you as more than just elitist assholes in your fancy
Act like
tuxedos.
actual human beings for
Yeah.
once.
But what's funny is how ratings suck over the last several years. So all of a sudden they turn on their humility. And that just shows you that they can turn it off and on whenever they want to.
Yeah,
so
true.
it kind of makes you wonder, again, Ki Kwan, Brendan Fraser, a lot of it is genuine humility.
Right.
But then you can tell that it's genuine. But from some of the people that you don't normally get that from, and then all of a sudden this year they turn it on and the whole show is different than it was last year. It makes you wonder, is it genuine at all?
Well, I think it is but again, this is where I
they
think
gotta-
it's the greater picture. I want to say controversy or a conspiracy, but it is the greater picture of as a whole. I think with picking winners of diverse groups or lesser known, and I would say in terms of no, I don't think you have to. I just think that most of those people that are in those categories are showcasing their true humility when it comes time for award season, and then you're now starting to see people be like, oh well, let's reward that. Again, that's why I don't think as far as merit goes, Everything Everywhere holds up. I don't think it's going to be a movie that's memorable after 5 years.
Oh, no.
I don't think people are going to remember it. But as far as the moments that these people had and it being impactful for their life, absolutely it was memorable, and absolutely it's something they'll never forget. But I think
You could say the same for Coda.
yes,
I mean, I'm never going to watch Coda again. I don't even remember half that
it was a
movie.
feel-good movie,
but those people, especially the gentleman that's really hearing impaired, winning I think that's something. Yeah, we'll remember him winning the award,
Right.
But I'm not going to remember the movie.
right. It'll be something that I can remember, loosely, but not anything I'm going to revisit because it was a huge.
It was good, but it wasn't. It's not something to me like past winners like Forrest Gump or Saving Private Ryan or Return of the King or even smaller
Saving
movies.
Private Ryan didn't win.
Or no, it didn't. Yeah,
Shakespeare
yeah.
in Love
Shakespeare
won,
Love
and
did.
that was the first
And
movie I thought of
barely
because
remember that.
well, and it's not worth it.
No.
It's not a Best
Yeah.
Picture winner. It was an upset for all the wrong reasons, and that's the thing. I think you've seen a trend. I mean, we kind of went over it back when COVID first started, and we went through the very beginning from Wings through the first few decades of Best Picture winners, and there were some where we were just like, this clearly only was Best Picture because it was audio was getting big into motion pictures, and because this one had
It was
music
funny to
in
learn
it.
how much Hollywood they have changed a lot, but at the same time, there's definitely aspects they have not changed.
Right.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting.
And I think look, it's a body politic. I mean, you always have every year the certain anonymous voting members come out with their picks, and there's some who are just completely harsh, some that are just like, I didn't check out any of these movies, I'll pick this one because it looked the best.
Yeah.
Like you have those who just don't care.
Yep.
And again, at the end of the day, the only sad fact in that is it's like, while that's a realist perspective of like, yeah, I kind of understand maybe not everybody, every member in the Academy is going to view all of these films.
Yeah.
But there is another part of it of like, yeah, but you're also doing a disservice to the institution that you claim is the epitome of what you want to uphold with regard to film and the future of film. And to me, when you get out of, when you're in this lull that we've been in for several years, where film is continually, just trying to push the latest cultural agenda down our throats and it's not entertaining us, you get to a point where you're going to have lukewarm films that are nominated. And yeah, there's going to be few little, pieces here and there. I mean, honestly, that's why I thought maybe Top Gun, just maybe it would be a surprise upset. Because that maybe they're going to go along with that kind of theme of picking a movie that truly deserves it. But, we can't go that far. We can't go that far where the actual Best Picture is one that everybody saw.
No, they behaved themselves for what we saw. Like, they behaved themselves for most of the night, but by the end of the night, it was still time to let's reward everything everywhere all at once. Let's make our January 6th joke, our George Sutton.
Right.
It's like, because that's when we think. Granted, for the majority of the show, they weren't woke, and I off the top of my head, I even said earlier today in a group text, there was only 4 moments I could think of that were remotely woke, which is very good for the Oscars. But at the same time, it's like they all did come towards the end of the night when the bigger awards came, when it was like, okay, well, now it's the big wigs, and all of us, are.
I got to use this moment as a platform.
Yep.
And that's
the moral
the
arbiters have to tell us,
They have to grandstand. They have to virtue signal, and that's the disappointing thing of what the award show has become and why people have tuned out.
And luckily, this mostly wasn't like that, but they still had to get their jabs.
But you also got to think in consideration with regard to the viewership being up. What are your all's thoughts as to why that was the case?
I honestly believe after last year and Will Smith's slap and all the news that went around that and all the news that since the beginning of this, we're going to have a special team of people to handle any situation that might happen. I think everybody's tuning in to see if anything would happen or to see how they play it and if there'd be any jokes, which there were. Mm-hmm. And I think over the course of the show, when people realized, this is actually kind of entertaining, it's not been a bad show this year, I think they just didn't happen to lose as many viewers as they normally do. I think a lot of times people tune in up front just to kind of get an idea of who may win or who's nominated, but as the show goes on, they get bored. They don't care about the technical stuff. This one had a nice pacing of big awards, technical awards. They did awards 2 by 2 so they can get through them quicker. And I think a lot of people
the music performances broke up some of the lulls and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Some of them weren't as entertaining.
No, they weren't.
They weren't. But I mean, the fact you have, RRRs, which was very popular.
That one was great.
Yes, Lady Gaga and Rihanna, like that helps keep people, like just the casuals viewed in. So I think it offered something that people were willing to stick around for. That in most years, once they start getting into the woke speeches, and most people were just like, "Nah, I'm done," and they tune out. I think people just happened to stick around a little bit more this year, which.
Well, and I was going to say, to me, it definitely goes back to the slap. People were tuning in to see if there was going to be another controversial moment, how they were going to address it. Maybe some stuck around more than other years because, I'm already tuned in and it's not that bad so far. I mean, it's still 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so it is long, and I will say I thought the pacing was better compared to recent previous years.
Yeah.
But they could still, other than what they tried to do last year, and it was still 3.5 hours long, where they cut out certain categories.
Yeah, but then they gave these stupid long speeches and stuff.
Right.
It's like
and
you just made it just as long.
They did keep people moving this year. They didn't let people just stand up there and prattle on and on and on.
And honestly, and that's for the best, because I think that's what limited some of the people from getting not only too emotional, but then veering off into the woke crap, into the preaching. And it's like, no, use this as a chance to, again, as Ricky Gervais blasted everybody at the Golden Globes that year when he last hosted, he was just like, get up here, thank your agent, thank your God, and get off. And it was just like, I gotta give it to him. It was like, that's what everybody wanted to hear anyway. And it's not like we don't already see you all as elitist,
I think if
I don't
they
want to say a bad word.
Actually,
well, you've already said it once, so
I was going to say a different one.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to say it different.
I think if they learned the right lesson this year about like having a little bit higher viewership as far as keeping the pacing up, keeping it entertaining, not going woke, and they double down on that for next year and keep doubling down on those things, they could produce shows that are going to get better and better that people might come back for. But my worry is anytime they get an inch and they're like, people came back, it's like, well, see, they don't really hate us, and then they start going back to doing the things.
No,
it's
like, people are watching, so let's get back on our soapbox.
It's like, yes,
right, well, so they can see it.
We got more people.
Just like Pete Docter with Disney. It's like he didn't learn the correct lesson of, nobody's watching our movies. It's not because of this messaging. It's because nobody cared about a Solo Lightyear movie and nobody knew what Strange Worlds was.
Intentionally gaslighting and omitting the real reasons people didn't tune in. And that's why Bob Iger stepping in and being like, put an end to that. But even still, I mean, look, at the end of the day, there's a litany of award shows, and nobody cares.
Nobody
at the end of the day,
anymore.
I think I said it, I forget who I was talking to. It might have been you and Jacob and Nathan at the end of the night. The fact of the matter is that, look at it this way. Back in the day, before the internet, before social media, it was the one time you actually had a platform where you kind of tuned in to see what was going on in the celebrity
to see
world.
all those celebrities together.
You were inundated day in and day out with social media with any celebrity you want to follow and see.
Right. Yep.
You're constantly getting their perspective, their viewpoint, or whatever next big thing it is that they're doing to push the bar.
That mystique's not there
The
anymore.
mystique around these award shows is aimless and pointless. There's just no reason to tune in just to, again, see rich people award themselves golden statuettes, pat themselves on the back, and virtue signal. It doesn't give people any hope as to why am I tuning in. There's no entertainment value here. There's no reason for me to keep this up. It's only to keep an age-old institution from being considered a dinosaur and being considered irrelevant. But it slowly... It practically is irrelevant. It's like you could literally go back to the day of the very first Oscars, which was a 15-minute radio announcement of announcing the winners.
Yeah.
And that's all it was. It's like you could literally do the exact same thing. But I guess for the time being, as long as you have a certain amount of people willing to tune in, they're willing to give 3 hours of television away for it.
Yeah.
And they'll sell enough ad time to cover it. But
it's a really good. I mean, it's a good point about us being inundated with this celebrityism and everything. And it to me, it's even. I would even go as far as to say I see the TikTok videos and the YouTube videos and everything of these celebrities preaching their garbage every day on social media to the point where when they do stand up and try to give one of their soapbox speeches and be social justice warriors, it doesn't hold any water for me. I mean, it's like it doesn't carry any weight. You say it every day on TikTok.
Right.
So when you stand up at the Oscars and say it, I've already heard you say this 3 times this week.
Right. And
so
most
it's not
of the people
even
who are tuning in are already a part of that group anyway.
Right.
You're preaching to the choir at that point. And ultimately, I just think that with award shows, there's far too many anyway. And they just kind of have lost their gravity in terms of the meaning and their presence.
I grew up watching the Oscars to see Billy Crystal sing and dance and to see all of these awesome performances. I mean, they used to have Aerosmith and stuff like that. I mean, they had these big performances. I'm not saying that the artists and stuff that perform now, it's one person and a piano and a guitar. That's fine. The music should, carry its own. But, I just remember these huge over-the-top performance. The year that freaking Hugh Jackman did it and did the
opening numbers,
the opening number coming down the stairs and doing with the dancers
Broadway,
in the back, the Broadway thing. That was amazing. And it's like if you could get me back to that kind of a show and also award the movies that deserve it and also allow these people to humbly accept their awards and not give speeches,
honestly,
you'll have me every year.
And that, other than the heartwarming speeches from, again, which those are never guaranteed, you don't know if somebody's going to get up there and just spew their woke garbage. Thankfully, we didn't have that. But the probably the most entertaining part of the night was Triple R and their dance routine and their best song.
Oh, and his speech
it was
great
awesome
too. When he got up there and he sang or whatever.
Yes, that was awesome. But I mean, like that.
What do you talk about, the mamas and the papas or something?
Yeah,
like that?
he said he
like
grew
that?
up listening to the mamas and the papas. Yeah. And I just and
the mamas and the papas, and I'm just like, this is fantastic. You've got this guy from another world that's talking about
American culture,
right?
The American dream. I mean, he came in on a boat and spent his first year in a refugee camp. I'm like, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, these are people who actually appreciate it because they fought for it, they struggled for it, and they know what it means to actually have to earn that dream. And now, like I don't know. It's just people aren't appreciative of what we have.
And it says something about your institution as a whole when a majority of the members who are not considered diverse, or they literally are just
are privileged.
They are truly privileged with this woke mind virus of being inundated in American culture and trying to spew that hatred on the rest of the people. Then you have these others who are just literally coming in to get a chance. And it's great that they're rewarded. And I'm not saying that they weren't rewarded on merit, but it is an interesting fact that it's like, okay, you have to now come so far outside of actual Hollywood base in order to get people who are genuinely willing and wanting to be part of this.
He talks about spending the first year in America in a refugee camp, and then you have Sarah Polley over here making a joke about women being allowed to speak on a platform at the Oscars, where obviously nobody has a problem with women speaking because they've been giving soapbox speeches for the last decade.
Never mind Catherine Bigelow, never mind Sophia
Meryl
Coppola,
Meryl
Streep. Never mind any of those strong women that have before you.
Stood up there and given speeches, and people allowed to talk. Nobody booed them off the stage or threw tomatoes at them. So
was just kind of funny that it's like these two different mindsets of someone who grew up in Hollywood, who is privileged, and someone who came from another country and had to work their way to the top.
That's right. And that honestly is it, and if they don't continue to champion that kind of that mindset and that focus, it'll continue to fade off into irrelevancy. And I think we're just probably another few short years before it's. I honestly would not be surprised if the 100th Oscars is like the last televised
They'll try to make
one.
it to the 100,
and then after that it's kind of like okay, we need to streamline.
This was 95, right?
Yeah.
95,
so 5 more years, and that would not surprise me if after that they really cut back on the
I
pomp
actually
and
felt like
circumstance.
Jimmy Kimmel. His jokes were funny in the beginning and well throughout the last 10 minutes of the show was when they went.
When he decided,
but I actually felt like he didn't like telling those jokes.
He seemed
He seemed like he was just
It wasn't just being-
sad that he had to tone it down.
It was like they
It did seem
strictly
like someone
came
shot
up.
his puppy all night.
Yeah, holy
Yes.
crap, it did.
Yeah.
It was like he didn't want to be there. He was very
Yeah.
tepid. He didn't want to go off or he wanted to go off on a different tangent. And they
Yeah.
were like, no. We're not doing. We've already had enough controversy from last year. We're not doing it, and I think they did. They reined it in on him.
Because normally, I mean, we've seen in the past where the hosts do have, like, granted, I was fine they didn't have all them dumb sketches, but at least, some type of opening number.
Well, the jokes
something
were
more-
good, but he
something
wasn't
more than
enthusiastic
comparison.
about
No,
telling
no.
the jokes.
No.
He doesn't write his own jokes, I'm sure.
No,
but
no,
still.
I'm sure he's
You think he
part of
does?
it.
Part of
Oh,
it?
absolutely.
Yeah, but he didn't like
Absolutely.
telling them.
No.
I mean, actually, the only time he really got into it was when he made his January 6th statement.
he was all
at
smiles
the end.
then,
He was all smiles then.
When he
But,
got the biggest pop.
Yeah, and then he kept talking about the length of the show and having to include, he's like, you asked for it, so we're gonna give you all the technical categories.
Yeah.
So don't get mad at me if this isn't over till midnight.
Right.
And I'm just like,
And
just
here's the
be
thing.
glad you got asked to do the job.
That little jab though is always it's fun and it's fine, but it's like it's every year now, and it's like guys. You draw attention to it every year, but it never gets shorter. And it's like you can only keep making the same joke and laughing at yourselves until again, it's kind of like a Scream 6. What have you done for me lately? It's like okay,
Yeah.
it's getting long in the tooth. You keep telling the same joke every year.
It's like you can't make fun of yourself every year and then just be like, see, it's okay because we're making fun of ourselves. It's like, no, it's old. Fix the problem.
So ultimately, a better show. Does it change the outlook of what's to come? No. Again, at the end of the day, what really I think is going to draw anybody to even being remotely interested in the Oscars is if you
James
actually have James Cameron there winning it all.
Avatar 3 is going to get nominated again.
Next year's Oscars are going to be not dull, but then after that we'll have Avatar 3. Yeah.
Think about okay, the Super Bowl literally has you pay $1 million, $1.5 million per spot. You have tons of trailers drop. Why could you not pivot and actually make? They tried to do it with a Little Mermaid, and it's like, okay, this is clearly that was awful.
It was just random
reveal.
because it's the only one. It was just one like this.
Right.
Here's this reveal trailer at the Oscars of one movie from Disney, who owns ABC, which is where the show's
and you
on.
even said after they did the WB 100 years, it's like Disney's 100 year anniversaries this year. Why didn't they do one for it instead of just promoting Little Mermaid?
Yeah.
It's like because they're that in trouble right now in the bank.
They're desperate,
But ultimately, it does come down to when you do not actually nominate films people see and actually go to, and let alone they don't win. Again, James Cameron and Tom Cruise didn't have a reason to be there because they knew they weren't going to be honored by the Academy. It has literally become a thumbing your nose at people who the industry is built on with these big blockbusters, but they don't get any respect from the actual Academy members and the main big ceremony of the year.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why would anybody tune in when you're talking about praising films that literally half of America has not seen?
It's kind of funny.
More than half.
We argued against it at one point about having the popular category. But I almost wish I wish they would have a People's Choice.
They do. Well, they do have a People's Choice Awards.
I know,
No,
but
but
I
you mean
wish
like
they
the
would actually have an
Oscars.
Oscar
Yeah.
one that's here's what the
And see how
Academy
different
chose.
the
Well,
but
movies
here's the
they
People's
did the
Choice.
terrible, was it the Twitter poll or something?
last year?
It was
Yeah.
awful.
That was.
No.
It was
And
bad.
everybody just freaking
It was like
spammed
fan
it.
favorite film, but it wasn't like of the year. It was just any movie. I was like, what?
No.
And I forgot what won. It was something random, and it was it was clearly not the fan
Justice
favorite.
League won something.
That's what I
remember?
think. That's what it was.
Zack Snyder's
because
Justice League.
Yes.
the Zack Snyder, like all the fans went and bought it the poll.
They just rated the poll and
Yeah.
and
See,
spammed
that's
it.
what don't do it on social media. Make phone calls. Go out to different cities and interview people in person and get the take all across the country before the Oscars and say, "This is we visited audiences across America.
This is what they need to do.
and this is what they chose."
They need to set up.
Top Gun Maverick.
They need to set up. They need,
That's what they would say.
They need
It
to set
would've.
up specific polling districts by where you live. You have to
And
go
you
show
can-
an ID.
you
and
can
have
put a
to-
ballot in the mailbox.
No, you can't have ballots.
Oh, you
have
can't
to
do
show
that?
up with an ID and vote for.
So
your
you're saying Oscar voting is more secure than voting for our president?
I think that, and that's the way it should be.
Wow. Okay.
That's right. All righty, guys. That's our review of the Oscars from 2023. Tell us what you think by sharing, and subscribing to all of our social media accounts right there at the bottom of your screen. Red Moon Book, Red Moon Picks, Red Moon Tweet, and Red Moon Productions on YouTube. You can also email us, but we're not at the end of the show yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We should be, but we're not.
We're moving on to our Vices segment.
I just love that.
I do too.
And if I had a suit jacket on right now, I'd roll the sleeves up. Just
We
like
need to
Don
get ready.
Johnson.
And then roll a white
Oh, white,
suit.
yes.
Oh, yeah. Chest hair popping out.
I'm kind of glad that James Cameron's back in the fold and that we're getting all these Avatar sequels, not 10 years out now, because there's just something so much fun about. As much as I hate him, James Cameron's ego. I was just thinking about it. I wish he kind of had shown up at the Oscars because nobody has a bigger ego than James Cameron.
He would have shown up in a golden carriage
Oh,
or something,
No,
just
no,
something outlandish.
It would have been like an Avatar
yes.
boat or something.
And it's funny because Tom Cruise
Would've
has an
flown
ego
in.
too. I don't think his is as arrogant as James Cameron, but he definitely has an ego. So it's kind of funny that the two people with the biggest
Yeah.
egos who knew they weren't going to win anything were like,
well,
peace
and
out.
I think they
Tom
intentionally...
Cruise, literally, he would have came in
he probably would
on
have.
trapeze.
He probably would have.
Oh, yeah.
He would have done his own
parachuted in.
stunts. Yeah, parachuted in.
Well, I'm saying that's what they
right.
tried to have Jimmy
or come
Kimmel
down
do.
on
Yeah.
the Mission Impossible thing and landed almost on the floor.
That was
but
so
then,
awful how the
It
opening
was-
with
it
Jimmy
was
Kimmel
terrible.
Yeah.
parachuting in.
Yeah.
I was like, it's stupid.
But the thing is yeah, if they did more stuff... I mean, that's the other thing. Yeah, if you just actually made the show entertaining.
Yeah.
Actually more,
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Broadway-
go
I
into-
know, we went back to the
I
Oscars.
was just cracking up thinking about James Cameron.
Well, I
Yes.
thought it was funny too because Jimmy Kimmel did crack some pretty harsh jokes on both Cameron and Tom
Oh, he
Cruise.
did. Well, they weren't there to
He
defend
made
themselves.
a Scientology joke,
Yeah.
and then he also made a joke about Cameron, and he's like, "Oh yeah, he didn't make as much money because he had to split it between his 3 wives."
Yeah.
and I was like, "Damn."
Well, he,
It's
well, he
like-
also made the joke about his favorite thing is to try to drown Kate Winslet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
no, we're talking about vices now.
Okay.
What's our vice?
Our vice is how much we hate James Cameron.
James Cameron doesn't do what James Cameron does for James Cameron. James Cameron does what James Cameron does because he is James Cameron.
That was
from
beautiful.
South Park. I love
Okay.
it so much.
Beautiful.
I was like, if you just made that up,
He got that.
You're brilliant.
it's-
That was awesome.
It's from a South Park episode that's so great.
About James Cameron.
Yes, he raises the bar
Oh yeah.
and saves humanity.
Yeah, I was about to go all in a Sheeran and be like, "That's fucking brilliant." I love how they say that in that movie. Firkin or Farkin?
Farkin, yeah,
Farkin.
Yeah. Anyways, we're
Yeah.
vices.
Let's talk about vices. Our most expensive hobbies. We've talked about hobbies before in the past. But I don't think we've taled about how
we've also talked about tech and stuff we've
extravagant we can get.
splurged on, but we've
Yeah.
not really talked about
Yeah.
how much money we spent. I think on hobbies, you get
I'm
a hobby.
just gonna come
and
right
you
out and
spend money
say,
on it.
and my wife will attest to this. My hobbies are few and far between.
But when you get in,
But when I pick one, dude, I go
all in.
all in.
Same.
Like it's crazy, and they don't last. That's the thing. Is like, okay, so photography was the longest lasting one, and I mean,
remember
I
that.
invested thousands of dollars
you were good at it,
in
though,
camera
man.
equipment.
You're still good at it if you wanted to be.
And that's just the thing. Is like I just it wasn't that I lost interest. It's that I had kids. To be honest with you. And
So many dreams go away.
It's like,
well, you get new dreams.
Yeah, there you go.
like-
Some go away, but you get
it's like
new
you try to
ones.
take your kids on a hike so you can get some photos, and one of them's wandering off
Yeah,
into
yeah.
the pond.
There's
and
no,
you're just,
there's no. I got to run and chase him. I can't do that with $1,000 of camera equipment around my neck.
It's like I'm gonna save it first.
yeah,
it's like Sean, Andrew's going into the lake.
Yeah.
Well, I got my camera.
It's like
What do you want me to
your
do?
kid falls off a cliff and grabs your camera strap
And you
to
just
hold
like-
on, and you're just like,
Yeah.
fingers off the strap.
What you do is you hold onto the camera.
It's like there's water down there. You'll be fine.
You hold onto the camera and then you just undo the strap.
Yeah, it's like I just got that Fujifilm.
It's like, sorry, that lens. It's expensive.
That's right.
Well, and aside to that, real quick, there's a few times growing up, I remember my dad mentioning about a Camaro he had, and I always was like, man, why'd you get rid of that? And he's like,
I had kids.
well, I got married.
Yeah.
And I had kids.
My dad-
That's so
I was
funny.
like, man.
My dad had a Camaro.
So my dad had a Thunderbird.
Yeah.
So.
My mom took it to the car wash while he was at work, and it came off
did
the
it
track.
scratch it?
It came off the track at the
Oh,
car wash, and the car wash just tore it to pieces.
Mm.
And it was a 76 or 78 Camaro.
Good times.
I did
Expensive.
read this is off the top. I read a
But-
story recently about this kid at a car wash who didn't tell like the people when to put their car in neutral and to roll their windows up and sent them through. And he got fired because they weren't expecting to just start going. Like he didn't say, okay, put your car in neutral, roll your windows up, I'm gonna send you through. He just like sent them through.
Oh wow.
Apparently, yeah, they had everything inside the car, plus everything was jacked up from. Like,
I mean, here's the thing.
That was on Dixie Highway, wasn't
Probably.
it?
Probably. I can see it being an issue with like, okay, if you didn't put it in neutral and you forgot, but I'm like,
The windows.
You should know.
once the
Come
soap
on.
starts
Yeah,
coming,
put
you
your
should
windows
be
up.
smart enough to put your window up.
That sounds like
Yeah.
I got coffee from McDonald's and it was hot.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I spilled it on my pants to see if it was hot.
yeah. It's like
Yeah.
a lawsuit, money.
Yeah.
But anyways, continue with your photography.
No, I was gonna say that was an expensive hobby, and it was like, oh, I'm gonna get a drone and start flying a drone, and it's like I can't buy the the $200 or $50
Oh, no.
Walmart drone.
No.
I gotta buy a Phantom 4 from DJI.
That's right.
And invest in that, and
Do it
guess
right.
what it's doing right now?
Sitting
The battery's dead. It ain't no good. I don't want to spend $100 on a battery, so it's sitting in a bag in the basement.
Well,
and it's like I just have so many of those things that it's like I wanted to get a gun and carry a gun, and it's like, oh no,
Ammo
I
and ammo- yeah,
I like
it's
that
expensive.
gun, but actually I need a little bit bigger gun or whatever.
for
so-
home safety.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's like I'm buying new guns.
I mean, I
and
do have- yeah,
it's
like-
one after the other.
Guns I like, but obviously can't afford. I mean, even just coffee, 'cause, like between like beer.
Yes,
yeah.
you got a
Let's
good
say,
example of that.
co-
It's like you could have went Mr. Coffee,
But you
I
did.
had
You
to get
did
my
Technivorm.
Technivorm,
Yeah.
That's
man.
right.
It's
But
so
I mean,
good.
coffee, beer, cigars, it's like those are things I enjoy, and
Yeah.
I actually enjoy them. So no, I don't want to go out and pay $5 for a 12-pack of Pabst Blue Ribbon because that's not
Heck
real
no.
beer.
It's not
gross.
enjoyable.
And the same thing with coffee. It's like, yeah, I could go get some Folgers or some Maxwell House, but I like buying. But
So
I
true.
But I like
Maxwell House.
I like buying the beans and grinding them,
Yeah.
and it tastes better. So it's like those are just kind of everyday things
Yeah.
that add up a little bit more.
But it's like too, you can't just go like when
can't go
it's
back
like
to-
when
I
you're
can't
going
go
to
back
buy
to
that
Folgers.
stuff.
Right.
It's like I know the grinder you have in there. I know how much it costs.
Yeah.
I looked it up, and I'm just
what
like,
kills
dang.
me, I just got an
You can't-
email from Technivorm that they brought out their own grinder.
They got their
And
own
I'm just
grinder.
like,
I don't
Oh man,
know. I don't
Gotta
know.
have. They got to
Because you
match.
do.
You know,
Exactly,
it's like if I'm gonna do it, I got to do it all the way.
to
gotta
bring
go
out
all
the
in.
best flavor, you need a burr grinder. You need, it has
Oh,
to
it ain't
be
just
able
a
to,
burr
yeah,
grinder.
yeah,
It's
it has
a
to-
what is it?
No, it is.
Stainless
No, I know,
steel.
but it's a burr grinder, but it has some kind of special. I looked yours up. It doesn't. It doesn't grind. I'm trying to think of the way
That you can. Well,
it's called something.
but you can adjust it to where when you
Oh yeah, you can
Yeah,
turn
mine
it and
does,
adjust
right.
it. But
Yeah, mine does
the
that.
kind of grinding isn't just two gears grinding together. Like it has some kind of a. I'll look it up after the show.
Yeah, yeah,
But you
'cause
got your grinder is like a
know more
special
about my
kind of
grinder.
grinder. Yeah.
Sean's jealous. He
Yeah,
wants this
because I got
grinder.
the Hamilton Beach, and I'm just like, mine was $60 for the grinder, but I'm like, I don't know how much yours cost, and
Well,
I was like,
here's
what's so special about it? Oh, it's special.
And here's the other thing too, is that mainly because Chip and Wendy turned me onto that one, so
Nice.
I got it from them.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
then also not only that, it was also I dealt with the Hamilton Beach. Not even wasn't a burr grinder; it was just the
No, you just had that
the
one little
blade
blade,
grinder.
like, little
and
one,
that thing.
yeah.
After dealing with that, it was a little $20
Yeah.
Walmart buy,
Yeah.
which it worked fine.
It's
but
fine.
it's not. You know,
definitely want a burr grinder for sure.
Yeah,
It
so you
just-
get the
So
full flavor
there's a regular
profile.
burr grinder, and then there's a conical burr
Yeah,
grinder, and
okay.
yours is a conical.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. It's something in the way that it grinds the beans, and it's less likely to get clogged, and it grinds it more
It
evenly.
actually has like it has like multiple layers. Like instead of like you said the two, that it
yeah,
has like multiple.
You don't
layers
get big
that-
grains and little grains. You get
Yeah.
a
A
consistent
full
grain.
consistent
Yeah,
grain,
yeah.
I mean, it is how it's been
I'd tell you,
consistent.
it's a hobby that didn't take off, but because it was expensive. But I did. It was funny because it was actually when I was jobless for a little bit, and I was just in between trying to find jobs and stuff, things to preoccupy time. But I had gotten the 2 Lego sets that I built, that Yoda and that X-Wing.
Yeah, I know
and it was one
people
of those
who
things
get
where,
those.
but it was one of those things where like I didn't have anything to do, and like I was gifted those, so I made them, and I was like, oh, you know what, this is actually really fun way to spend time. I was like, I might want to buy some more sets, and at that time I was
get ridiculously
But I was
expensive.
and with inflation right now, Legos are retarded.
It's
They
insane.
are.
Sorry.
But anyway,
I'm sorry.
they are
I
retarded.
can't believe I
No.
said that. That was worse than the F word.
Hey,
I
it's
take
fine
that.
on
I
this.
completely take that. If you want to cancel me, cancel me.
I
It's
say
fine.
retard all the time.
Admonish.
I don't say that. Mentally challenged.
No, listen. You don't call a retarded person retard.
You call your
be
friends retarded when they're doing something
Yeah.
retarded.
Okay.
I consider
That's it.
Oscar a friend.
All
There
right.
you go.
I had to finish the quote.
Yeah.
Michael Scott, The Office.
But were
yeah.
you were doing?
I did the X-wing
Lego
and Yoda, and I was like, again, those were gifted to me, and I was laid off. But then it's like, oh, this is fun. I might want to do this, more than just these that were gifted to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then you Google, Lego sets and what you might want to buy, and the only thing, especially being jobless, that I can afford.
You can't.
It's
Yeah,
like
you can't
it's
do
like
that
20.
for long.
It's like $20 for like a 50-piece set.
Yeah.
It's like okay, well, no, because they're hundreds of dollars.
No, I know.
Oh, yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
guy at work who I know he gets them for his wife whenever like they have like a special Friday treat.
Yeah.
And they'll save up for a while, but he'll get it for her birthday or something, and he'll buy like the elaborate like
Yeah.
$200.
The Death Star's like $700.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just like I couldn't do that. But then again,
You get some Lepin bricks. They're just as good.
Yeah, the Lepins are. I have done that for my
Give me
kids.
some
They
Lincoln
don't know the
Logs.
difference.
No.
but I've done. Obviously, you see it all
Those are
here.
expensive now too, though.
They
This is,
are.
yeah,
I
they
mean,
come
even
from
the
China.
even the ones from China are expensive.
Yep. You get cheap. No.
No, the knockoffs are expensive
It's because
now.
they're infected with COVID. I'm sorry, that
or
was
they
offensive
got-
too.
That's it.
Or they got cameras.
It's not
in
COVID. It's the China virus.
the
That's
Wuhan-
right.
it's the Wuhan virus.
That Wuhan lab leak.
You got the
Just
Wuhan
telling
cough.
you. Now we're gonna be canceled for that. Dr.
Yeah,
Fauci.
YouTube's probably got some kind of system. As soon as you say Wuhan, it flags your.
I'm sure.
your show.
I'm sure it'll
Oh,
be like
we got flagged 6 times like Wuhan, Fauci. It's like, oh, we're gonna,
it's
oh,
gonna
we
have
got
COVID.
retard Wuhan.
It's still gonna
Fauci.
Hunter
fucking-
Biden, let's just keep racking it up.
That's right. That's
It's
right.
still gonna have a COVID-19 banner. At the
Trans
bottom.
women are not women.
Oh, gosh.
Oh,
there
let's
we
just
go.
cover all
I'm
our
just gonna get them
bases.
all.
We're done. We're not even on air anymore. They done
No.
blown it.
Yeah.
No.
MAGA.
J.K. Rowling's right.
I'm gonna go back and look at it. It's gonna say blocked in some countries.
In every country.
USA.
Yes, USA, Canada,
China, it'll only be available in
That's,
Russia.
I can't-
and Mexico. They don't.
While
care.
we were next
Yeah, they
door,
don't
I was
care.
reading this article because I just said about J.K. Rowling and how she was talking about that there's still plenty of Harry Potter fans that support her, despite the ones that are boycotting her.
Yeah, they-
And there was, which is true, absolutely. I mean, yeah, but it's one of those things where there was a comment, and I laughed so hard from this person who was like, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and I don't know a single other Harry Potter fan that supports you anymore or your bigoted ideas and this and that. And all the comments underneath hers were like, well, I'm a Harry Potter fan and think she's right. I'm a Harry Potter It's like, I'm a Harry Potter
Yeah.
fan and don't think trans
Like
women
you don't
and
want to
it-
open that
No.
can.
and-
No.
But it was just like everybody
They
was
live,
dogging them.
live
Yeah.
in their own reality,
Oh.
and they just ignore
I was
actual
like, you
reality.
honestly think there's
Yeah.
not one other Harry Potter fan that doesn't think J.K. Rowling's right?
They live
Like,
in their
it's
own
so,
fantasy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But no, you see my expensive hobby all
Yes.
around.
We look
This,
around and
along
see
with a NAS in the other room that I have barely put a
your
dent in.
$4,000.
Yeah, guys, I'm just going to tell you. I don't know if you'll ever see it on the show unless we post a picture.
We should.
Well, I don't know if I
could.
want people seeing the inside of
don't
Brandon's
have to-
house
you
or
don't have to
anything
do
like that,
all of
but
his
still,
house, just
I'm
the-
just saying it's not a NAS. Okay, a NAS is a little box.
Yeah.
From Synology or Synergy or whatever it's called. What's
Yeah.
it called?
Synology.
Synology that sits on your desktop. He has half of a car sitting in
It
his
is the
living
size
room.
of a coffee table.
It
It
is
sits right next to his couch like
absolutely
a
the
coffee
size of a
table.
coffee table.
Yeah.
I need to put like a tabletop on it.
And
so
it,
that
yes,
I
you can
just-
put a glass top
but
on
I'm
that.
afraid that it's
That
like
would be
You don't want to
sick
overheat
if you
it,
put
and you
it-
don't want anything spilled on it.
No,
Well,
don't
that-
put liquid on it.
That would be the only
No.
thing is I don't want people to put
Yeah,
glass.
definitely
No,
it's
no,
like
no.
no drinks. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
but if you put your humidor and stuff on top of that,
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
that would
Nice.
be
Yeah.
sick.
But then the humidity,
glass top
wouldn't
on
that
that.
dry out really quick
It
with
should-
all that
it
heat?
shouldn't.
No, it ain't
Coming
gonna
up
go
from
through
it?
that
Well,
glass.
but your humidor
And your humidor's
should-
sealed.
is supposed to keep
keep everything
Yeah.
inside it like regulated. So
Okay, all right.
if it's doing
That
its job,
would be. I'm telling you.
but
that'd
I
be
have
sick.
if it's
enough-
properly seasoned, it won't.
Well, I thought about even putting like a nice wood top on it or something.
Yeah, you
No,
could.
you want to be able to see through it.
Yeah.
But there's not really anything cool underneath it.
It's
Like you
just
do
what
see
it
the
is.
It's cool. The metal
Yeah.
frame and it's a
The-
freaking
Just-
computer.
I mean,
in
it's
of
a rack.
itself, it's cool.
It's a
but-
rack,
but yeah,
it's
this
like,
thing's huge.
No, like
you
you've
know.
seen the server rooms in these movies where they got to sneak in and hook
That's
up the laptop
Brandon
to the
has a mini
server.
version
He's
of
got that in his living room. Yeah, it's
Well,
it's
With
awesome.
plenty of hard drives that he bought on Black Friday.
Oh, that was insane.
Yeah, you spent thousands of dollars that day,
If
didn't
you're
you?
if you're looking at building a NAS, that's where all the money went. I mean, it was literally like $200 per drive.
Yeah.
I'm
because
telling
I
you,
went with
you
12
didn't build
terabyte.
a NAS. You built a
It's a server.
CIA server. It's like FBI grade.
Hey,
Honestly, we should be running our Plexus servers off of you.
We should be running everybody's social security system off of that.
I'm
Like,
not gonna
it's-
lie. You go down a rabbit hole, and you all
Yeah.
know this with any hobby you
Yes.
do get into.
Yeah.
You get on YouTube and you start researching it. I'm like
Oh,
you,
man.
Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The moment
cigars,
I've decided
coffee.
on a path, I then go down the rabbit hole of what's the best of the best.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then it gets to a point of, okay, I can't quite afford that, so I got to roll it back.
Yeah.
So what's the most expensive thing that I could
It's
afford?
like, what's
that's
the best
still great?
that I can get with
Because
my
you don't,
price?
you
Right,
don't, you
yeah.
want to future proof it to
Right.
some degree.
Yeah.
You
I
don't
mean,
want to.
I literally had a mirrored. It was 16 terabytes, but it was 2 8-terabyte drives. And now for that most people are like, that's way too much.
Yeah.
I don't need that for when you're doing video and you're saving everything. I'm a digital hoarder.
Mm-hmm.
I keep all as much as I can, especially from back in the days where I used to delete, and I'm like, I regret deleting certain things. So the moment it started filling up and I was getting there, I was like, I need something that's going to last me 10 years like it did.
Mm-hmm.
But 10 years is like when you're dealing with 4K footage and,
Yeah.
and even like shows every week that are like this, which is only 1080. You're getting to a point now where it's like, all right, I'm gonna
Fills
need
up
something.
quick, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need something that's really robust. And so I was like, all right, this should last me 10 years.
Yeah.
60
For those of you out
64
there,
terabytes.
64 terabytes?
64
So a terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes.
Yeah.
That's 3 or 4 iPhones for the layman out there.
For the
Yeah.
layman.
yeah.
Well, and three
You
or
know,
four.
you know how many songs and photos your iPhone will hold. That's
Yeah.
4 times that for 1
I mean,
terabyte.
I dumped everything from the 8 terabyte on there.
Yeah.
So obviously I've used about 8 terabytes, but I probably haven't put another dent in it. since.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't done any projects, but
Yeah.
that's the hope.
We're going to fill it up.
The hope is
Fill
to
it
fill it
up.
up with some beautiful footage of other
Make you buy
projects we
more.
got going.
Yep.
That's right.
I agree.
Well, and that's the other thing. So I bought a way. I forget what it's. Oh, it's called a disc shelf. So only 12 of the bays out of the 24 are full. So I have 12 more
You have
empty
more?
bays.
well,
so I can buy
because once
yeah.
you run out in 10 years, you can
Yeah.
just go ahead and fill it back
Right.
up and you're good for it.
Okay.
And that's the other thing. They are NAS drives, so they're
Nice.
meant to be
On all the time.
24/7
And, yeah.
and take the vibrations. So hopefully I don't have any disk failures. I've got one spare drive right now that I can swap in and out if I need to. But
Yeah.
when you got to buy a drive because one's failing, it's like, well, there's $200 gone. So
Yeah.
it's expensive. It's expensive to keep
This
up and
is an
running.
expensive production
yeah.
that me and
So-
Keith didn't have to pay anything for.
Well, and a
I
lot of
never
it that I
plan on
haven't.
it.
Well, we did. We bought these mics. but
Hey,
that
yeah,
was about
those are
it.
Yeah, I
yours.
contributed. I get to keep this mic
Yeah.
one day, maybe.
Yeah.
It depends. If I ever quit
Anytime.
or you
It's
ever
like,
fire
when I
me.
quit, I'm taking my mic with me.
It's like, give me my
And,
drop.
and Brandon's like, you ain't taking that cable with you because I paid for that.
That's right. Or that shock mount. Or that mic arm.
Well,
That's right.
the pop filter you paid for too, didn't you?
Yeah, the pop filter was.
See, we
What?
don't.
This didn't come with
no,
my mic?
no, he bought the pop filters.
Oh.
So we don't even get those.
I own everything.
He's like, I get your
Jeez, man. It's like,
all we get is just the
gosh,
mic.
just the mic. Whatever came in the box.
It's a good mic. Oh, I still have everything from the box too.
Yeah.
It's in my closet.
Nice,
so.
nice.
Yep. So it's expensive.
Well, that's
but
it. We're
You enjoy it, and it's like I'm not married yet. I know when I get married that the well's gonna dry up.
Oh,
quick.
yeah. She's going to be
Especially-
like, Brandon, we could use that room that's your studio.
Yeah.
That's going to be the kids' room.
Oh no. Here's the thing. We will move into another house. Yeah. I've already kind of like.
Just make sure you got a basement.
It's just gonna be like
the
this.
studio.
I'll be honest. Keith came over a couple weeks ago.
oh yeah, that's kaput.
It's
Yeah.
about 10 years old now, but my Zoom H4n, which nobody knows what that is out there except technical nerds, finally crapped out.
Did it really?
And
Yeah,
I'm looking
I've
at
been
getting
having to
another
record
one.
my reviews directly to the computer instead.
Oh.
And so I wasn't going to get another one anytime soon because it was holding up so well. I was like, no, that's perfectly fine. But now that I am in the market for one, I'm like, well, I can't just buy.
You can't buy the same thing.
Exactly. I gotta buy something that's future proof.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
Yeah, that's. I don't need.
You can't use the little Rode microphones that you got.
Well,
new
no.
ones?
It's so that those will be used with it.
Oh, okay.
Like it'll be used so I can record like multiple tracks of audio on one device instead of just having 2 XLR. It's got about 4. But
okay.
we're looking.
Yeah.
We're looking. It'll be for field recording, and it's of course what film industry pros use, and so it's not cheap. But we'll see. I don't need it. I need to be satisfied. It's Lent.
Well,
It's
eventually,
cut
but
I don't need it.
But eventually,
Oh,
we're going
love
to have
it.
projects where you're going to have to record things, Brandon.
Yeah, because when
And we're hoping to do that this year.
Oh man,
We're hoping to do some stuff this year, aren't we? You might need it.
I just thought about our audio drama.
Yeah. See, I'm
Yeah.
pressuring you.
That's gonna do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I'm gonna go pull the trigger on something expensive I don't need.
I didn't say you had to do it today. I
like-
just said this year.
No woman's gonna want to marry me. She's gonna be like, you are in massive
Look,
amounts of
look.
debt. I'm like, no, it's all bought and paid for. You'll be like, Brandon, you got that Tesla. When did you get that?
And
Well,
it's
that-
like
you
I
don't need
couldn't
that
get
for-
I couldn't get the one with the doors that open normal. I had to get the one
Yeah.
with
I
the
gotta
doors
get
that
it.
go
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. I gotta get
Yeah.
the dual motor.
That's
and-
right.
yeah, exactly.
Self-driving and
Self-driving.
airplane doors and all that stuff.
I mean, the computer in that car is like it's $10,000. It's insane.
all right. Well,
Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast.
Yeah.
What are your expensive hobbies? Let us know.
I
And
will tell you, by the end of the night, I appreciated this
I
expensive
like
beer.
it. I like it.
See?
This is not Pabst
Yeah, here's
Blue
the-
Ribbon.
There you
This
go.
ain't
Here's the thing.
Budweiser. This is Voodoo Ranger.
With it having that 9.5, like once you get a little bit
Oh,
through it
yeah.
and the buzz kicks in, you don't care about the
yeah,
taste.
halfway through, I didn't even taste it anymore. I
Isn't
can't
that
feel my
any
lips.
beer?
No. Trust me, it takes 4 or 5 Budweisers before I realize I'm no longer
yeah.
drinking a Budweiser.
Yeah.
Because that's
One
the
of
thing.
these is good for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was say Budweiser is just piss water.
I mean,
so you taste every drop.
normally
of
I
it.
wouldn't say retarded, but I'm a little drunk. So I said
And there's
retarded.
never a time, I don't care how many Pabst Blue Ribbons you drink, you always know you're drinking a Pabst Blue Ribbon.
It's that and
You
Rolling
can
Rock.
completely, pardon my French, you can be completely shit-faced and you know you have a Pabst.
Sounds
I just
terrible.
remember that
when you
Thunder
start
Over-
crushing them on your head, you know you're done.
I just remember going to the Thunder Over Louisville party with Neil's, like from the people at Geek Squad that he
yeah,
works
the
with.
apartment, yeah.
And all they had was coolers full of Rolling Rock and Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Rolling Rock is one of the
Well,
worst
but
crap
they
beers
lived in that apartment
ever.
right on Waterfront.
yes.
Well,
It was-
they
it-
couldn't afford good beer.
No,
if they
they-
paid
no,
for
It
that
was a
apartment.
great view of the show,
Yeah.
but man, I had heartburn so bad the next day.
It was terrible.
Rolling Rock, man.
When
From
beer,
Rolling
when
Rock,
beer
it
gives you heartburn, it's that bad.
It's bad.
That's bad. It is.
Oh my god!
Right there at the bottom of your screen, all of our social media, like, share, subscribe, Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Pics, and of course, search for Red Moon Productions on YouTube. Thank you all so much for joining us, but as always, you can reach us that old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Email RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com. Keith, you say it the best.
You serious, Clark?
Uh-huh, I am.
That was good. Well timed.
That's good.
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
That's just beautiful.
Are
Every
we on
time.
Rumble?
Yeah.
We're on Rumble.
We're not
I don't.
live.
I don't see it on the chat.
It's not live, but
Most-
it posts afterward.
Got it.
Rumble has Restream request if Restream ever listens.
Yeah.
Why don't you actually partner with Rumble? They're actually a competitor now.
They are.
You may not want to because they're conservative. Well,
They
you all
are a
suck.
competitor.
They're
Yeah.
a worthy competitor.
Yeah.
I'd love to live stream to them. I'd love to simulcast with them. That'd be a great addition. Alrighty, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Joining us again. Our movie next week is Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Live Tuesday nights at 9 p.m.
I mean, I liked the first Shazam for the most part, but I just don't know.
We'll find out. A review next week. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and say
You
it.
serious, Clark?
Say it.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.